Hey guys, and welcome back to my review of Penguin, Our Hero, the third episode of the fifth and final season of Gotham. So, by now I assume we all realize that this is definitely the final season of Gotham. It is obvious they are planning something huge for the finale, something there is no coming back from, no chances of renewal, nothing really. But part of me still hopes the series does find a new home with any streaming service. This season so far has presented us with 3 stellar episodes, and all the news we've got does promise an amazing rest of the season and an amazing finale. We've got a new version of Harley Quinn, the show's version of Harley Quinn, an incoming Bane, more of Jeremiah, and the promise of a third character other than Jerome and Jeremiah to be portrayed by the same actor. We've also got Catwoman and an incoming Batsuit. It's really amazing so far, and it's gonna be amazing for the rest of the season. But moving on, and in the spirit of not wasting any more time doing introductions to this video, and without further ado, number 1. So it wasn't really Penguin who attacked the Street Demons biker gang, but he was rather set up. The entire Penguin was here. GRAFFITI was a way to turn the gang against him, manipulate them into starting a gang war with him. I'd say it makes total and absolute sense that it's all probably Nygma's plan. He's had a lot of unsorted beef with Penguin for over a couple of seasons now. Penguin has always played Nygma and manipulated him. He killed one woman that Nygma loved and then manipulated him against that other woman that he fell in love with, her being Lee Tompkins. Number 2, Selina haunted by those nightmares of what Jeremiah did to her. Getting in that costume, jumping out that building, that was really the perfect start for the episode. So we've got ourselves a Catwoman, and the start of an arc that is reminiscent of Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman seeking revenge on Max Schreck for a traumatic incident on the 1992 Batman Returns. Number 3, circling back to the subject of the graffiti with Penguin's name on it. That's reminiscent of the graffiti that Batman, Gordon, and the GCPD used to mark the territories, the ones that they ended up gaining over the course of No Man's Land in the comics. But that also brings us to number 4, the news that Penguin got about Jim Gordon early on in the events of the episode. People joining Gordon, the expansion that he's making throughout Gotham, one man at a time, that as well is quite reminiscent of the expansion I was just discussing by both Batman and Gordon into other turfs and territories during the events at No Man's Land. The entire parallel though is kind of confirmed when Penguin starts talking about Jim's little excursions through the other territories. Number 5, the Selina Bruce kiss, the way she laughs mildly after he tells her that if they take Jeremiah down together, they do it right. It did feel very unlike their usual relationship on the series. It's like it moved from 2 teens liking one another but while still being teens, you know, on and off and all of that, to the Batman and Catwoman relationship in the comics, which by the way is still on and off, except over here she started moving away from her usual cynicism on the series and since the very start to this darker comic book version, or even better, the 1992 Batman Returns version. But there's still a lot that they do still share with their comic book versions. I mean, they believe differently, yet a lot of things do bring them together in so many issues of the comics that does set them apart. This as well, in a way, is a parallel, yet a reversal of roles when it comes to Bruce and Selina on No Man's Land. On the pages of the comic book arc, Catwoman is the one to help Batman rather than the other way round. She does it twice as well. She does go against Lex Luthor along with Batman, and then ends up helping Batman rebuild Gotham. But moving on to number 6, Batman and Selina fighting their way against that gang in the Dark Zone. It's pretty much reminiscent of the many times that they ended up working together for one reason or the other on the pages of the comics. A few arcs do come to mind here as examples. Year 1, The Long Halloween, and No Man's Land itself. But that also brings us to number 7, Selina's definitely gone darker. The incident, the cure, and the thirst for revenge is also brought about the darkest side of Catwoman. It all once again leads into Bruce having to stop her, again reminiscent of a lot of moments in the comics. Number 8, of course with Penguin's attack on Haven, we were all waiting for the aid that Jim was expecting. And all of us did expect that aid would be Barbara Keene, only she and Harvey took their sweet time, dramatic effect and all. But anyway, that kind of delay made perfect sense because we didn't expect that Barbara was going to be able to get her revenge against Penguin so fast, not that we expect her to get any kind of revenge before the end of the season, well, the series in general. But number 9 though, the Church of Jeremiah Valeska, Bruce and Selina. The setup reminds me of the wedding of Batman and Catwoman in Batman Rebirth number 48, published in August of 2018, entitled The Best Man. It all goes down in a church, the setup is pretty similar, and our 3 candidates are right there. Number 10, Echo is the one recruiting followers for Jeremiah. She's also the one who made it into the GCPD and left that little message for Jim on the map of Gotham on the premiere. Now, so far she does seem to be the show's incarnation of Harley Quinn, but let us though wait and see how that goes, because it is very predictable. Even though amazing, they added a Harley Quinn into the mix, still very predictable, and there are just a lot of changes that are gonna go down before the end of the season, so let's just wait and see. But moving on to number 11, I definitely missed these Penguin-Jim Gordon conversations, ones that started as early as Season 1 when Penguin used to work for Fish Mooney. They just always feel like a staple of the series and a staple of every season. So while the topics might have changed, the balance of power has been switched, the tone still remains the same. Jim Gordon, as per the usual, is always disgusted and annoyed by Penguin, even though he always ends up in some way or the other finding Penguin somehow to be an ally. And as usual as well, Penguin is always finding himself being the same good old opportunist. Number 12, Penguin and Jim ending up working together, again under unusual circumstances. That's just something that's never been to Jim's liking over the course of 4 seasons so far, and also a callback to previous seasons. I just always liked the relationship between these two, everything about it, including the way it evolved since the very beginning. It's just amazing. But moving on to number 13, because of their cooperation working together, Penguin once again finds his way to be loved by the people. It's just always been the thing that he did care for all the way, feeling needed, feeling wanted by the people around him, and he did achieve that by the end of the episode, hence the title of the episode as well, Penguin, Our Hero. Penguin's biggest fear has always been about being left behind, all alone, and he just managed to make sure that this fear is culled on this episode. In the process, and as an added bonus, he took away from the credit of Jim Gordon with the people. Number 14. The extremely murderous tendencies of Jeremiah and his new Harley Quinn. Those require the reminder of the Joker's role on the No Man's Land arc in the comics. Now during this arc in the comics, the Joker ruled over this apartment building he made into his territory, just like the church here. But besides the killing that he did at the end of the arc, killing every person that was born during the No Man's Land arc, his arc of course led to a lot of people dead, a lot of whom ended up dead within the walls of the very same building that he's claimed for himself. Now, not surprisingly, and considering the parallel that we get to see over here, with a lot of his own recruits dying in the process of being recruited, most of those who were dead on that arc in his own apartment building were actually out of his own gang. But moving on to number 15, Jim Gordon's speech at the very end, the leader's speech, something about this speech and this moment, among others this season, all of it just makes him into the Jim Gordon of No Man's Land in the comics. So pretty much we're talking leader of people, GCPD commissioner, and the military general in working through the wars of Gotham. But moving on to number 16, the little kid who's been helped by Jim, now having helped Jim, emphasis by the way on the last part, having helped Jim. His name is Will Thomas. Now all of this is just speculation, but it does make sense in the bigger scheme of things, because I'm wondering if he's meant to be a variation of Duke Thomas from the comics. Now we do need to remember here that he is young enough to be a Robin in the future for the current Batman or the current Bruce Wayne. We also need to remember that we're watching a story or a season that is based on not 1 but 2 arcs out of the comics. So it isn't just the No Man's Land arc but also the 0 Year arc, and according to the words of the producers and the cast of the series. The entire thing as well, with Jim Gordon sort of making him into his deputy at the end of the episode, that also foreshadows the possibility that he might be a future Robin. But alright though, let me refresh your memory real quick here as to who Duke Thomas is on 0 Year. So Duke is basically the kid on the 0 Year arc who was working on his smarts, working on getting smarter, with plans to accept the Riddler's challenge at some point and save Gotham. He's as well the kid who, along with his parents, saved an unconscious Bruce Wayne after his run-in with Dr. Death as Batman. On the pages of the comics as well, and many issues past 0 Year, Duke grew up to be one of those characters in the comics that ended up picking the mantle of Robin. Now I don't want to make a crazy bet or a crazy speculation, but we know there's going to be a huge time jump at the end of the season. At the very least, that is what is rumored. Penguin is going to be wearing a fat suit, so we're going to be seeing the comic book Penguin at the end. Edward Nygma is going to look more than ever like his comic book persona, and a lot of things are going to be changing around. we're probably going to be seeing a Batman in the Batsuit, we're going to be seeing Catwoman, full-on Catwoman, with the suit, the mask and all, and we're going to be seeing things happen Smallville style. We're going to get a glimpse at Batman. So I hope at the end of the day that Will is actually Duke from the comics, and I hope as well that what we see in the end is actually Batman with his sidekick next to him. With that being said, my review for this episode is done, don't have much to add over here. So let me know in the comments who you think Cameron Monaghan is going to be portraying on the final episode other than Jerome and Jeremiah. Let me know what you thought of this episode. Let me know if you think Echo is going to be the final incarnation that we're going to see on the series of Harley Quinn. And let me know if you think Will is actually the incarnation of Duke from the comics. Now if you did like this video, you can let me know that you liked it by dropping it one of those much appreciated likes. And of course, if that were to be the case, you can always subscribe and enable notifications for my future videos, community posts, and live streams. But until the next time you tune in for another one of my Gotham reviews, thank you so much for tuning into this review, and have a great day.